Bulls Nation, we are on a fantastic run of form as a team as of late, and it all comes into this game once again as well as we versed a tough Minnesota Timberwolves team that, granted, the record has not been on their side. We all know they like to compete in their games, and they competed in this game as well. They took it to overtime, but the Chicago Bulls reigned supreme and showed their superiority within the overtime period. So without further ado, let's talk about the Chicago Bulls versus the Minnesota Timberwolves in this video. Let's do it. What's going on, everybody? It's the Aidan Sports Show, and welcome back to another video. Today we've got a Chicago Bulls versus Minnesota Timberwolves game reaction. The Chicago Bulls on a very good run of form in terms of winning. Only one loss in our last 6 games, won 5 out of our last 6. Timberwolves coming into Chicago looking to find a win, and the Chicago Bulls in overtime managed to show their dominance and take the reins against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to the Aidan Sports Show YouTube channel. Turn notifications on. Let me know in the comments below who was your player of the game, and let me know in the comments below overall your thoughts about the Chicago Bulls game today in general. At the end of the day, there are many reasons why this game went to overtime. The Bulls did not play a fantastic game, and it showed in this game as well. There are many things that we did give up to allow this game to become closer than probably what it should have been. But what I said in my game reaction against the Houston Rockets about this Minnesota Timberwolves team, I said their record may be bad. And yes, their record is very bad. It doesn't look like there's going to be a way back from them this season in terms of how they play. But they keep close in nearly all of their games. And the reason why is they have the offensive capabilities, even without D'Angelo Russell, to put the ball in the basket. And when they're versing teams that are not particularly the best defensive teams in the NBA, you're going to see a close game from these teams against the Minnesota Timberwolves. But the Bulls did what they were supposed to do. We all knew, or at least I knew, coming into this game, it wasn't going to be an easy game. It wasn't going to be a blowout. The Timberwolves barely get blown out. They like to come close in all of their games. But we did what we were supposed to do. It may have taken overtime to do it, but the fact of the matter is, this is a team that the Bulls were favored to beat. This is a team that the Bulls expected to beat. And this is the team that the Bulls beat. And we all know Minnesota's situation at the moment. We all know that they can't catch a break. But at the end of the day, their misfortunes needs to be our gain. We need to find ways to beat teams like this. And today is another example of the progress that the Bulls have made. When teams are coming in with short staffs, teams are coming in with poor form, teams are coming in off of a back-to-back, we need to beat these teams. And it may have been close. And again, it shows that they are a tough side when they keep close the way that they have. And they fought very hard. And the Bulls made it very easy for them to stay close in this game. But the Bulls won it in the end. And that's all that matters. That's all the record is going to show. The Bulls won this game and the Timberwolves lost. And we could talk about the performance of this game as well. But hopefully those bad things that we saw in this game can get rectified in the next one. And it will need to get rectified in the next one. Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind is the turnovers. We've rarely had a bad turnover game since the Oklahoma City. And yes, we've had some very high turnover games around the 18-point mark of turnovers, which is still very high, but for the Bulls standards, it's not that bad. But today we had over 20 turnovers in this game, something that I haven't seen in a long time. And a lot of them were very unforced turnovers. Zach LaVine had a few turnovers where the ball just slipped out of his hands. He had one of those games today where if he had the ball, there's a good chance that it was going to be a turnover. And again, you can't blame Zach LaVine on all of it, but turnovers was a big part of this game, and Zach LaVine played a big part in those turnovers. So that's something that you need to look at and say, all right, that's one of those things that's been a problem all year for the Bulls, and we've managed to clean it up. So now we can't go and allow those bad habits back into our game. Next game, we need to have a clear mindset to limit our turnovers. We cannot let this bad habit that's been going on all season to continue to go on. This must be a one-game situation. We won the game. The turnovers don't matter now, and it's time to rectify those mistakes in the next game. Also, second chance points. This team has been, for quite some time, a good rebounding team. And I know the stats don't show that. I know we play very small with Wendell Carter and Thaddeus Young as our main centers. And that's all fine and good. At the end of the day, that's how we play. And we get the rebounds that show that we are good enough to be a good rebounding team. But so far in recent games, we have given up a lot of second chance opportunities, and the Timberwolves is another team that is very good at offensive rebounding, and we allowed them to get second chance opportunities. If we're going to be versing decent rebounding teams, no matter how good our stats are rebounding wise, it's going to be like we're going to get out rebounded on the offensive end, which is something that the Bulls really need to look at, because that is going to be a very big key in the next upcoming games to why we win or why we lose those games. Offensive rebounding, second chance opportunities must be limited. We limit second chance opportunities. Our offense is good enough to beat any team in the league, but we can't give other teams more opportunities than us to have shots, because that's how they win games. We need to be more aware of our rebounding, especially on the defensive end. We need to get those defensive rebounds, something we've been very good at all year, but for whatever reason, these last few games has slipped away a little bit. We need to get on. We need to be focused on that. We need to be finding a way to fix those things and give more effort on the boards. And again, it's a team effort. It's not just Wendell Carter. It's not just Thaddeus Young. It's not just Patrick Williams. It's a team effort. We do get a lot of rebounds, but there are a lot of rebounds that we don't get, and that is something that we need to fix as well. Those are the bad things. Let's talk about the good things. Obviously, the ball movement and the player movement of this team is still at an elite level. We move the ball and the players move all around. It's so hard to defend, and that's why we get a lot of attacks in the paint. That's why we get a lot of open shots, and that's why we take advantage of our mismatches. And this is why the Chicago Bulls offense is leaps and bounds better this year than it was last year, because we're moving. We're creating those mismatches. We're creating the open space. We're cutting backdoor cuts for Levine, cuts from Ansky, 1-2 plays with Kobe White and Thaddeus Young. There was a play in overtime where literally it went from Thaddeus Young, bounced past to Garrett Temple, 2 men on him, passes to Wendell Carter, very patient, gets a bucket. That's probably the best play I've seen all night from the Chicago Bulls, and it came in overtime. These are the plays that make us fun to watch, and this is the play that makes us an elite offensive team. And that's what I like to see, and hopefully we can continue that in our next few games as well. Let's go into the box score now. Let's go into individual performers. There are a few players that I do want to talk about in today's game that I thought really stepped up to the occasion. First things first, I want to talk about Wendell Carter Jr. He had 17 points, 10 rebounds and 2 assists in tonight's game. He got a few blocks. Karl-Anthony Towns is a very tough cover. And at the end of the day, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to do his thing on anybody. He had a very good fourth quarter. He had a very good second quarter, I believe, as well. In the end, he was very big for this team, and that's what they need, the Timberwolves, for them to come close in these games. Wendell Carter played a very good game of his own. Again, another solid offensive game from him. He made a 3 today as well, 1 from 2. That's corner 3. I would have really loved to see that go in, because at the end of the day, that is the massive, biggest confidence booster you could ever see if that shot goes in, and that's the last shot of the game for the Bulls, and we end up winning it from a Wendell Carter 3. But at the end of the day, I can't complain from Wendell Carter's production in today's game either. He did very, very well. He got a block on Karl-Anthony Towns, I believe, as well. He did good things in today's game, and he's building that confidence offensively. I love his post game. His post game is taking a whole new level from when he was out till now. He's taking the ball into that post, and he's making that post game his own. And to be honest, if you want to be an elite shooting center from a guy that is not necessarily known as a shooter, I think that's the first step, to be in the post, to go in the paint and score from there. Because then the game will open up from you when you're able to develop your mid-range shot, which he has have a nice mid-range shot, when you develop into the three-point line. At the end of the day, that post game for Wendell Carter is a dangerous post game to have. I think he's learning very well from Thaddeus Young as well, and he's developing that post game very nicely. And then over the coming years, if he's still a Chicago Bull, if he still does good things for us, he can end up expanding his game a little bit more. But right now, he's doing a lot of his damage in that paint, and I want to see that continue going forward. He's having a massive part in the way that the Bulls play their offense and their defense as well. Let's talk about Kobe White. 20 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists. A near triple-double for Kobe White. Again, there are positives and negatives to Kobe White's game today. Obviously, the positives is that he was very aggressive in the paint. He got a lot of his points driving the lane. He got a lot of points with nice little scoop shots and shots that were unblockable from the defense of the Timberwolves. And he did his thing. He also crashed the boards very nicely. We're expecting that more and more each game out of Kobe White, bringing 100% effort into these games and getting those rebounds and allowing the Bulls to push the ball. And when he gets those rebounds, I always love when he pushes the ball and he goes and he runs, because that's when good things happen for Kobe White. And the 6 assists, again, Kobe White is going to have an up and down playmaking season. I think he's going to be like that for the majority of his career. He's going to have a few games where he has 6 assists, 7 assists, 8 assists, and then a few games where he's going to have 2 assists, 3 assists, and not as much as you'd like from a point guard. That's how Kobe White is going to have his majority of his assists for the Chicago Bulls. It's going to be inconsistent, but again, as long as he can keep the scoring up, I think he'll be fine. He did not have a very good offensive game from the 3-point line. So maybe in the next game that could be rectified, because again, if he made a lot of those 3-point shots that he took today, he would have had over 30 points. So it's fair to say that he had an up and down game, but again, the stats will show that Kobe White had a very good game. And again, that 3-point foul at the end of the game as well, not something you like to see. I don't think it was a shooting foul. I think if anything, he was passing that ball, but the refs made a bad call, and thankfully the Bulls did not get punished for that. We still won this game. Let's go into the rookie Patrick Williams, 13 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. I think he was a little bit more aggressive. Again, there was a time in this game where he tried to posterize 2 people, and if he got that posterizer on and he actually dunked that ball, highlight play of the year for Patrick Williams. But again, he was very aggressive. He got his mid-range shots, the art of the mid-range, and he did very, very well today. Again, expected. I'd like to see him have a little bit more shots, but again, I can't complain when the Bulls are winning as much as we are. I can't complain about shot selection, who gets more shots than each other. At the end of the day, this team is gelling in a way that I haven't seen before. And I can't complain when someone doesn't get enough shots, because this team is finding the right shots. And that's exactly what you want to see. So shot selection is all about the right shots as well, not who's taking the shots. That's a big part of it as well. Obviously, Thaddeus Young, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 6 assists. 2 rebounds for Thaddeus Young is actually quite poor. Usually I see a little bit more rebounding from a player like Thaddeus Young. But 6 assists, playmaking was very good from Thaddeus Young as usual. 14 points was a big part of this. He was shooting over bigger men, shooting over smaller men. He did very, very well today, Thaddeus Young, against his old side in the Timberwolves. He's played for a lot of teams, so I say that a lot about him. But he's playing against his former side, and he did very, very well. Funnily enough, him and Zach LaVine were on the Timberwolves when they played together, and now they're playing well together on the Bulls, and we're winning games. So good for Thaddeus Young, and also good for Zach LaVine. Ansky had 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. This is probably the best game from Ansky I've seen all season. Aggressive, made nearly all of his shots. Playmaking was elite. He rebounded the ball. He had the size advantage over his opposition today from the Timberwolves, and he took advantage of that. And that's where his points came from coming into the paint and overpowering his opponent. And that's what you want to see if you have a size advantage like Ansky has against most of his guards. I feel like Ansky can play like that on a consistent basis. The problem is I don't think he's aggressive enough to do that. But again, in these last few games, he's proved me wrong. He's been very aggressive, and let's see that continue. I want to see that push from Ansky. When he gets the ball, I want to see him run. I want to see him take on his man. I want to see a post game as well from Ansky, from his sides as well. I feel like he has all the capabilities, all the fundamentals. I think he can do it. So let's see if he can continue to be consistent with this style of play for the Bulls. Denzel Valentine, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Denzel Valentine had a game of the old Denzel Valentine from the previous weeks. Last week for Denzel Valentine was a very, very bad week for him, and I'm not sure why, but this game was a fairly decent game from him. He got a steal today as well, a very clutch steal, and he did his thing offensively. There are a few things, of course, with Denzel Valentine. He did give away a ball, I believe, as well. And again, you can pick a negative in all of these players, but Denzel Valentine is someone that I want to see consistency out of. And he had a bad week. I want to see him recover with a few good weeks. And then that shows that he is becoming more consistent than what we've seen of him over the last few years. And the last player to talk about, Zach LaVine, 35 points, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. Again, this is not the best game from Zach LaVine. I think I can say that with a humble heart and with my chest. This is not a good game from Zach LaVine in terms of the other games that he has set for himself over the last month of February. This is one of his worst games. He dropped 35 points, which is great. 2 assists, 2 rebounds. At the end of the day, the rebounding, I'm not really bothered about the rebounding with Zach LaVine, but the assists was not great from Zach LaVine. A lot of turnovers from Zach LaVine. And you have to give credit to Timberwolves as well for their defense. But at the end of the day, Zach LaVine had a lot of unforced turnovers here. That's the negative. The positive, he dropped 35 points in the clutch. He was big, and he was the reason we won this game in that fourth quarter. We nearly gave them the lead in the fourth quarter. Zach LaVine comes in. That goes from a 1-point game to an 8-point game. Then in overtime, Zach LaVine, big in overtime. That game went from obviously a tie game to the Bulls are up by 6. And Zach LaVine was a big part of that, making huge shots for the Chicago Bulls. So that is the positive from Zach LaVine's game today. At the end of the day, every player will have off nights in certain areas, but he found a way to contribute to this team in his scoring, and that was very big for the Bulls as we take this victory. Now let's talk about the must improve in the player of the game. The must improve player I'm going to target, it's very difficult. I actually don't think I need to target one, because the one I would target is Garrett Temple, but I don't think Garrett Temple had a terrible game. I just think overall as a team we need to limit turnovers. I think it's very clear when we limit turnovers, we seem to win games by a lot more, and this game was just an outlier of having 20 turnovers and the Bulls still win. I don't want to see 20 turnovers again for the Chicago Bulls. Let's put it that way. I want to see us keep the ball. I want to see us use the ball effectively, and I want to see us limit our turnovers. So I guess that's a team effort thing. The Chicago Bulls must improve with our turnovers. And it's not one specific player to target there. It's everybody. Everybody needs to step up and limit those turnovers. And obviously the player of the game is Zach LaVine. I was going to give it to Wendell Carter until Zach LaVine erupted for a fantastic night. Even Kobe White had a great game as well. 2 candidates there. Shout out to those 2. But Zach LaVine in the fourth quarter was clutch. And at the end of the day, he gifted us this victory today with his scoring in the fourth and overtime. So there's simply something that you can't live without. We can't live without Zach LaVine's scoring at the end of the day. When Zach LaVine doesn't score, it's safe to say that the Bulls will struggle in most games, but we have Zach LaVine, we have our All-Star. This is the game after he was announced an All-Star and he's dropping 35. That's the message I wanted to see. I want to see Zach LaVine continue to push and continue to strive. Because at the end of the day, a lot of players will slow down now that they've got their recognition as an All-Star. That's just how it is. Some players play to become an All-Star, to have individual awards. Zach LaVine needs to be a player that continues to push, because we are in a very tough and tight playoffs push at the moment. We're the 6th seed right now, which is fantastic, and we need to keep on pushing to remain in that area where we need to be. The Bulls' record is 15-16. At the end of the day, not too long ago, we were 4 games away from 500. A fantastic winning streak with 1 loss to the Sixers, obviously, and then we continue to win. We won 5 out of our last 6 games. We are on a very good winning streak. And most importantly, we are beating the teams that we need to beat. The Pacers was a great game to watch, and we beat the Pacers. We beat the Detroit Pistons. We obviously beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. We beat the Sacramento Kings. We beat a bunch of teams that we are expected to beat. We beat the Houston Rockets. And that's what you need that's what you need. If you're a team that's striving to be in the playoffs, especially those lower tier seeds for the playoffs, you need to beat the teams that are in competition and beat the teams that are below you, and you need to compete with the teams above you. And so far, we've done that. We've competed with the 76ers and we've competed with the Lakers and the Clippers. We haven't won those games, but we've competed, which means we'll get that opportunity to win in one of those tough games. Hopefully that tough game will go against the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker, Chris Paul. The Phoenix Suns have had a fantastic year for their season. For the Phoenix Suns, obviously, they've had a tremendous winning ways, and they're in a playoff competition themselves at the moment, which is very, very good. Obviously, Devin Booker versus Zach LaVine is going to be a fantastic matchup. 2 very elite scoring shooting guards looking to find a way to get their team to victory. Kobe White and Chris Paul will be a very good matchup. Obviously, those 2 have a close relationship with each other. So this is going to be a tough game. Also, things to note, the Bulls and the Suns have 2 of the best benches in the NBA. So at the end of the day, this is a very I guess even matchup, despite obviously the Phoenix Suns having a much better record than us. This is a matchup that the Bulls and the Suns will probably favor against each other. So it's going to be a very good scoring game, in my opinion, out of these 2. And let's see which team comes out on top. The Bulls are in fantastic form. And hopefully, if we can clean up the turnovers and we can limit second chance opportunities, the Bulls can come out and win that game. But I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Actually the second the second half of the season schedule has come out, so maybe I'll make a video about that and upload it for tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you in another Chicago Bulls video. Take care and peace.